Sir, we have a code red.
What are you talking about? You can't mean...
I mean it, sir. The MAKI Meat Muncher. He's awoken.
What's up, guys? Up here, and here we are to do a breakdown/review of chapter 252 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as the Inhuman Makyo Shinjuku Showdown Part 24. Or as I like to call it, the decisive battle in the uninhabited demon-infested Shinjuku, Part 24. But I'm very, very excited. Notably, I did want to wait for some officials on this one. That's why this one may come out a little bit later than what y'all may have expected. Because there are certain things in this chapter that I do think I want to get the two perspectives on. I have the TCBs, and I want to have this one. But you know we got a hefty chunk to talk about. A hefty bit to glaze about. So let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. Editing me, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a... dropped it. No. That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact. Ladies and gentlemen. My agenda grows stronger by the day. Of course, my agenda is also in extreme danger. Like being sliced in half. Or lit on fire. Or whatever assortment abilities the king has been holding back on. But with that being the case, let's actually hop into the chapter itself. I'm going to give you a little preview. Sorry, I do have a bunch of chapters to get through before I get to that I generally do want to talk about a lot. But I just want you to see, right here, it didn't get translated for some reason, but right here, that's a little speech bubble. Right here, that's a little speech bubble. Right here, that's a little speech bubble. Don't you remember this? This will be on the test. But with that being the case, before we actually get to the test itself, let's cover the beginning. So, notably, the big thing to note here is that Okotsu, he didn't just lay down a barrier, he actually moved it. Now, of course, I don't fully understand the reasoning. I guess they were fighting in a relatively destroyed area, but, I guess they just moved further into Shinjuku? I wonder why. Notably, whenever you move barrier coordinates, or at least whenever we saw someone move barrier coordinates, and I think the only person we actually ever see do it is, Hikari against Kashimo. It was for specifically strategic advantage. So maybe they moved it here because there's more open vantage points and there's a runway for someone to get in. That's what I assume they moved it for. But they don't actually explain why he moved it. I'm guessing because in the previous location they were fighting, when Yuta first opened the domain, they were kind of on a roof, which would have limited access points and also cause more trouble for anyone who would need more flat ground to fight. Once again, outside of Yuta and Maki, kind of, no one else here can fly. So, the high ground for Sukuna would actually be an advantage. As we've seen in the Gojo fight, in the Yorozu fight, and even earlier, as early as, I think, the Megumi fight in the series, Sukuna can do the same thing the Heavenly Restriction users can, which is hopping off air. He doesn't actually need platforms. He can just fly, kind of, sort of. Once again, it's kind of, sort of. It's not flight in the way that Gojo does it. It's not flight in the way that Yuta can with sky manipulation. It's not flight in the way that Uro can. It's not flight in the way that things with wings can. But it might as well be flight. So maybe that's why Yuta moved it. Because other than that, I don't get why he just moved him to bring him further into Shinjuku to cause even more damage. But we see that Kusakabe says Kotsu did a good job shifting the barrier's coordinates. And then Ito brings up, everyone will scatter and take a position so there are no blind spots. Then, when Kotsu lets down part of the barrier, Zenin rushes in. Don't miss the signal. So, I think it is still just the positioning thing and the avoiding Sukuna hopping away thing. Because other than that, they could have hopped on that roof. They were fighting on a roof. Why on a roof? Especially the roof seemed flat. But I think that's why. And we see that, and Kusakabe, they're ready for the most part. But notably, it's only these two, and eventually what's going to be revealed to be Choso, Itadori, and clearly Maki. So I wonder if anyone else is going to show up. I wonder if this truly is our final cast. Notably, Uro's, I don't think she'd show up. But she is still alive. Unless she got literally off screen, Uro's still breathing. She's in Sendai, though. And maybe she never left Sendai. So maybe that's it. And once again, Takaba? he was fine. Like, I mean, unless we're to believe he did fully commit himself to the bit and Yuta was just dragging away his actual curse technique imbued body to make sure that Kenny didn't right into it, then where's Takuma? Like, I know a majority of our fighting force is already here. Like, who else is left out of the ones that we know of that are alive? Like, what? Do we expect Momo to pull up to the battlefield? Momo couldn't even harm Ume, not to talk to Sukuna. What? We're gonna expect Miwa, who can't even wield a sword anymore? Like, who else are we meant to expect? But like, a character like Uro. Where is she? She could be useful. Even if just as like a support or like a fairy thing or to redirect slashes if she can see them. But once again, it's mentioned kind of sort of. We have chunks to talk about. But we do get to see that Ino lifts up the mask, which may have been a mistake. Like, what if it broke right then and there? You need to be an auspicious beast, bro. Like, what happens? What happens? Why'd you lift the mask up? But he says, Kusakabe, a few more people should go into the domain. After all, the plan called for Choso to go in too. Still don't get that. Why? Like, especially considering in context, like, wouldn't they have just gotten in the way? Like Choso. The same Choso who got double donated and one-tapped. Like, perception blitzed so badly he couldn't even see Sukuna move when he got double donated and one-tapped. And who else? Did you want to be in there? Like, I get jumping Sukuna and restraining him the best you can, but, like, unless you just put Maki in there, all the rest of you would probably kind of just get in the way. Right? Like, I don't know. I don't really see what Kusakabe or Ino or anyone else would be doing if they had like scurried into the barrier. And notably, I wonder why Ino says that. Like, that's an easy option. You can't just walk into a domain. At least, like, one person can. One person can. We can just walk into a domain. But Ino's like, a few more people should go in. Not should have. But once again, that may just be a translation thing. Funny wording stuff. But we see Kusakabe says, you bring it up now? If someone penetrates Sokosu's domain now, Sukuna will direct his attention outside the domain. And last thing we want is to spoil Zenin's surprise attack. Which is true. Which is very, very true. But still, they're both speaking as if, like, that's like, can Yuta would he open a hole in his domain to let them dive in? Because, like, remember, I'm pretty sure in order for Megumi to get into the domain, he had to, like, domain near Dagon's domain, and then he broke in. I'm not exactly sure how they would just dive in, unless maybe the barriers formed that way. Maybe he changed the conditions of his barrier to allow people to come in and leave, unless their name is Ryoma and Sukuna, because that is possible. We've seen that before. And if so, once again, Yuta's he's a very high level barrier user. I know a lot of people we're trying to, like, just share his feat with Dagon, but I think Yuta's cooking. I think Yuta's cooking in terms of overall domain ability. Like, is he as good as Kenjaku? No. Sukuna? No. Tengen? No. But still, he's up there. He's better than Satoru Gojo. I know that sounds so crazy. But, like, in terms of domain, like, to be fair, Gojo did a bigger domain. And he did, and I know, I guess, once again, the tiny domain is still a greater feat than what Yuta performs in terms of the barrier itself. Because that literally breaks. That, like, breaks physics. Like, we know that the inside of domains do already sort of break physics. Like, the inside is always much larger than the outside for the most part. Like, Dagon had an island in his, and I think his was, like, at best, the size of a room. So, there is that. But outside of that, in terms of, like, internal domain controls, I think Yuta, he's up there. He's up there. But, with it being the case, that's the main reason no one else went in. Or at least from this point on. No one else went in because they would spoil Maki's surprise attack, and if that happened, then they'd be in more trouble. Though, admittedly, I'll get to it in a second. I'll get into it in a second before I talk about it. But we see, Kusakabe says, besides, how many of us can maneuver around a special grade sorcerer? And, I mean, at this point, I'm not even sure if I can call it glaze. Maybe Kusakabe is just him. Maybe he is just the strongest grade 1 sorcerer. Because after he says that, he doesn't verbalize it, but he says it in his head, I bet you could. So, like, is Kusakabe just the techniqueless demon? Like, Yuji finally got a cursed technique, and now Kusakabe has to be the one without one that's, like, able to go absolutely crazy, buku, and bonkers? Like, broski, what is that? What do you mean? But I guess he has. He literally has. He was out there defending Higuruma with symbol domain, not even domain implication, and he managed to do that. And once again, way back when, way before the time skip, he was the one to save Miwa from an Uzumaki. And Uzumaki fueled by Mahito of all characters. So yeah, there's just a really high likelihood that Kusakabe's just him. I'm not mad at it, but I'm just bamboozled. I don't know. But I guess I've just not really been like a Kusakabe rider. It may be time. Stay hydrated, folks. But with it being the case, we see that Kusakabe calls out to a certain somebody. Zenin! And like, I'm not exactly, is this supposed to be Maki and this supposed to be Maki? Is this supposed to be Ino? Who is this? Katink, and then she leaps there. Oh, okay. I think this, so she goes from there to there, and then she locks in facing towards the bear. I don't know. This image is weird. It confused me in the spoilers. It confused me now, and it will confuse me for forevermore. But it doesn't really matter. As we see, Kusakabe just declares, "A lot rests on you," and Maki just. And she hits that stance. Once again, I mentioned this. I really wish her fingers were just lined up right here. A little bit further. Come on, Mom. Get a little bit closer. But I do love that she doesn't even say a word. She's so locked in. Nothing but a deep breath and focus. And you can even see she just watches the barrier. Looks at it, waiting for the signal. Now, admittedly... No, once again, I'll wait. We're about to get to it. We're literally about to get to it. But... this is a really nice moment. And once again, I do like that it's Kusakabe kind of being the commanding general. Like, I guess he is the oldest out of our remaining active cast and crew. Like, we can't say Kashima's the oldest anymore. And man, there's a little bit of Kashimo here, a little bit of Kashimo there, a little bit of Kashimo there, a little bit of Kashimo there. Like, he's everywhere. He's in the house of waffles. But with that being the case, I like that Kusakabe's like playing sort of general. And notably, he's kind of been playing general / information man / I know everything except for when I said Gojo won and then he got cut in half. Like, he's been kind of playing leader. And I like that. It's not necessarily a character arc. He's always been a teacher. And he's always been sort of a guide and mentor for others. But to see him take charge in like the biggest battle ever. Like, no, probably the biggest battle ever, except for maybe like the original battle against Sukuna 1,000 years ago, which the sorceress lost. Like, shout out to my boy Kusakabe, he's him. But we see Maki locks in, and then Kusakabe's like, "Akotsu will signal when Sukuna lets his guard down." We expected a scene like this. So, this does recontextualize the end of the last chapter. Nope, Yuta did not take so much damage his domain shattered. He just broke it himself, which... I'm fine with. I was about to whine a little bit. I was about to complain. I was about to yap negatively. But honestly, your boy loves you. I'll be real. I've been soft on my appreciation for the blessed child. I'm happy he's alive, alright? I ain't even gonna lie. And especially thanks to y'all convincing me both in the spoiler discussions and in the quick review, I'm much more fine with it. For a couple reasons. Number one, he does actually have a support group, unlike Satoru Gojo. And like a really solid support group too. Notably, well actually we'll address the scene in a second. And the worst case scenario. It's the best in the worst case scenario. Notably, big notably, he doesn't fall. Or, I can't hit the Ron Perlman. Fall. I can't. I don't know. And it's literally, I'm pretty sure it's literally just his voice. They put like a slight echo on it. I have no idea. Ron Perlman, my man, he got a voice. Slade, the Lich, more. I just say more because I can't remember anymore. Those are the two main ones that affect me. But still, he doesn't fall. Here, and the moment he goes to fall from being sliced in half, Rika immediately catches him. And like, I don't know. I was mostly joking on the idea that Rika would literally, like do that. Like, keep him together. And presumably, as a lot of people point out, it does make sense. In the sense that it's likely the cleanest cut ever. Like, notably, it's not 100%. And I'm not even sure if people can ever go back to 100%. But, it's going to sound weird, you could remove a finger. I'm not sure if it's like a whole arm. I forget what the highest, but like, as long as the cut is clean, I'm pretty sure it's like a real life thing that if you remove a limb, let me double check. Nah, we're going in blind science, pencil science. I'm pretty sure if you remove a finger, a limb, or something of the sort, as long as it's a clean cut and as long as you reattach it quickly enough, then the nerve endings will like reconnect and regrow. And there's no cleaner cut in existence than one that actually just deletes space. Right? So like, it does make sense that Yuta could survive this. Because a lot of people point out, the main reason Gojo fell is because no one came to get him quickly enough. They sat there and watched Sukuna slash world slash existence. They watched, and Gojo was just laying there like, oh, if only someone could put my top back on. Please, someone put my top back on. But no one... Gojo called for help, but no one came. Kashimo came in multiple different ways, but like he ain't come out. And unfortunately, Ui and Kirara, I guess, just weren't fast enough. Though, admittedly, it really depends. Though it really depends, because this has a knock-on effect. Does this reopen the door? And I know the Gojo haters, or not even Gojo haters, just people who, I know even some Gojo fans, it's me, I'm Gojo fans, I'm Gojo Glazer, who kind of doesn't want Gojo to come back, because I think I'm fine with him being gone. But, especially with what the end of the chapter reveals, this whole chapter kind of grabs the door that had sort of cleared off and sealed off all Gojo copium, and swings it wide open. Because, like, if Yuta could survive it, and, like, it seems like a genuine case of survival, because Rika picks him up, Rika fully heals immediately, there's no real issues there. I really wouldn't be all too shocked if Gojo could too, especially considering we don't actually know. Remember, after the end of Sukuna's explanation, Gojo did where English? Where do you go when I need you the most? Why do you betray me at every single opportunity? Why must you do this to me? After all I've done for you, after all I've used you for, you have to leave me and abandon me. And every single time I like to use you for simple means and metrics. Stop, please, I'm begging you. But we see Gojo hit at Sukuna right at the end of their battle. And then we don't actually see it. It's the only time we don't see body retrieval. I mean, once again, we don't know where Tagawa's body is. And we don't know how Yuta got back. A lot of people assume Yuta ran, but Ui teleported him there. Come on now. Like, remember, he was like halfway across the nation in Lake Gosho Colony. To suddenly get back to Shinjuku by running? Nah. But with that being the case, we don't actually know when bro was taken. Because remember, Sukuna, when Kashimo appears from the heavens, the god of lightning, spawned in, Sukuna hit the... And I presume, the moment he did that, they were like, now! And then Ui was like, whoa! Because he's got the little cape with him. So he hit the whoa! And then Kirara scooped up one half, Ui grabbed the other one, straight from the behind. I probably shouldn't have said that. Kirara grabbed both halves, straight from behind, and then tipped out of there. So he could be fused back. And once again, this has reopened the door. The door is open. On some Kingdom Hearts type beat. This has reopened the door. And what the door is reopened for is his return. But of course, I have a way that I'd like Gojo to return, but it isn't Gojo. So like that's a more elaborate topic for another time that we're going to go into. But this does open the door. But what this now does is open another door that we didn't even know was closed. How long is it going to take for him to come back? Right? Because personally, as much as a mighty, malicious, Maki meat muncher, 5 M's this time, that I am, I don't see the vision of Maki 1v1ing Sukuna to the end. I really don't. I really don't. Once again, you're going to see me glaze heavily, very, very soon. But as delusional as I ain't that delusional. She doesn't land a single clean hit on bro after this one, which isn't even a clean hit because she snuck him. So, like, that just don't happen this chapter. And of course, you may be able to argue she's messing around a little bit, but I highly doubt that. While Sukuna's confirmed to be messing around a lot of bit. So there's still a whole lot more to go, and Maki doesn't seem to be doing it on her own, at least not yet. So I do think Yuta needs to come back, but the question is how long? Because remember, we're on 252. Gojo fell in 236. That's a series of 16 chapters. No Gojo. But of course, once again, plays into the whole ideology and storytelling thing. Maybe, just maybe, Yuta will come back quicker. But how quick? And how much needs to be done by Shoko, the only RCT user we have that can express RCT, and how much needs to be done by Yuta, if he's still conscious. Because, like, it's hard to tell because the slash is angled. Like, it goes straight clean through. Once again, that's the beauty of the clean cut. You could probably just hold Yuta together and let him heal. But, like, does he have access to his cursed energy reserves right now? Like, I'm not sure where. Like, is it in the pit of the stomach? Is it, like, down here where the cursed energy is produced? Or is it some of it up here? Is it split literally directly in half and the brain won't be able to channel it? Because I don't know. Yuta has RCT, so he should be able to come back relatively fine. Well, not relatively fine, like bro's in half. But still, he should be able to come back. Not too much trouble. Not too much of an issue. Not too diabolical or too down bad. But it's still a question. A very interesting question. Because personally, I'm still looking to get that epic 2-page spread of all 4 of the heavy hitters jumping Sukuna. Yuta, Yuji, Maki, and Hikari. I'm looking for it. I'm itching for it. I'm scratching for it. I'm fiending for it right now. I need to inject it straight into my veins. So I need Yuta back. So, I'm just wondering how long it's going to take. It can't take too long, though. At least I don't think so. Because if Sukuna's really going to start going serious, the bodies may hit the floor. 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 So we do need him back. Question is, how long? The one detail I like how, with how dramatized it was at the end of the last chapter, Rika essentially just walks off getting slashed as many times as she does. Like, it doesn't even look like she got slashed. You just still, like, he got hit so hard, the juice is still leaking straight from him. These more so look like tears or something like that than Rika, like, actually healing or anything. And her hands are fine, too. Like, everything else seems fine. So Rika just immediately... That's impressive. Shout out to Rika. She had no times, no qualms, no issues. Another thing, the heart. I guess here's the thing, though, right? If they were hoping that Soul Split was going to be super effective, and thusly Sukuna wouldn't be able to heal from it, because they know it does soul damage, which is now confirmed in this chapter. We'll be talking about matchups in a bit. But if that's the case, were they going to, like, give Megumi a new one? Because remember, the whole reason Sukuna was able to do that bargain at the start of the series, not hold Yuji hostage, essentially prevent Yuji from ever switching back, supposedly, was by ripping out his heart. He's like, Brat doesn't know how to regrow this, and he can't live without it. But me? I'm no different. I can. Is Megumi supposed to spontaneously recover from this if this plan had worked? If Sukuna was like, oh, my heart! Like, I don't actually know. Because then, let's say Megumi takes back over. Then he just doesn't have a heart. Unless, like, the body reversion that's another thing. What happens when Megumi takes back over? Does his body shift back? Does the King of Curses just become like a Kevin 11 X transformation situation? Like, if you remember, I forget what the episode's called. I think it's season 2 or I think it is season 2. Because season 2 finale is Vilgax and Kevin, I'm pretty sure. The Framed. If you remember in Framed, what ended up happening was that Kevin 11, after his first encounter with Ben, absorbed the Omnitrix. And once he did, he realized that he could take the form of any of Ben's aliens whenever he felt like it. But the thing was, he would always revert back to one of the alien forms. He could never go human again. So, is that the kind of case for what Sukuna would have? Or Megumi would have once he turns back? Would he have his base body with a restored heart and everything, who then he needs to, like, make sure to stay that way, or, like, try and force it, so Sukuna with his missing heart doesn't come back? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the ploy of going for the heart for was. And the reason I bring this up is if you were willing to execute Megumi, which is what presumably this is. I don't know what else going for the heart is, because this clearly was part of the plan. Why not go for the head? Or the brain? Or anything like that? Like, don't get me wrong, I get the heart's important. And I thank once again, as I said, not a biologist. So I think every single biologist and everyone with a Googler who corrected me, apparently the heart is straight here. I don't know what, I don't know where I got that misconception from. It is straight here. And apparently you will just get pierced straight through the heart right then and there. So this looks like an attempt at execution. Why not go for the head? And maybe you think like, okay, well maybe if they went for the head, like he would sense them coming and then he would like dodge as the blade starts to go through his neck. But once again, heck, even cutting him in the jugular would be really, really annoying because of how much blood goes through there on a consistent basis. And two, you can still pierce him. Just, like, it's going to sound dark, but pierce him in the back of the domer. Pierce him right in the back of the brain. If we're really trying to take him down, because that's what this seems like. At least to me, it seems like a kind of last resort kind of thing. Though admittedly, Yuji immediately says, I'm not going to give up on you, Megumi. So maybe this wasn't? I don't know. This is an interesting scenario that's laid out here. A very interesting scenario. But once again, it's too late now. They didn't go for the head, and I'm worried they may not get another chance to. Because once again, that's the big issue of Maki revealing herself now as she did. Sure, we get this epic Maki versus Sukuna chapter, but like, all of Maki's surprise element is gone. He is now not going to take an eye off of her. Ever. Because he knows now. Maki was one of the best way. Like, once again, it's why I kept bringing her up. If you're wondering, Pencilman, why'd you keep bringing Maki up during Higuruma versus Gojo versus all that? Like, why'd you keep bringing Maki up? It's because at any moment she could have come in and then Sukuna's head would literally be rolling. And unlike Big Jaku, Sukuna isn't just a brain. Sukuna is the full body. Meaning that actually going for Sukuna's head would end him. Of course, that comes at the price of Megumi, though. But it looks like they were willing to sack Megumi in the first place unless they had some sort of plan to restore his heart. Which I don't think they can do. So, I don't know. This is a very, very interesting scenario. Maybe this whole plan was just to weaken him further. Because Maki does mention that, hey, it's just like what Megumi said happened at the Juvenile Detention Center. So, maybe that was a plan, but the question is, if they were to save Megumi after this, like we open up 253 and Megumi's saved, doesn't he just immediately perish anyway because he doesn't have a heart? You got one of those in a cooler on standby? Like, I don't know. But, of course, enough glaze in this page. And once again, the sort of incomplete art aspect actually really works for me. I don't know why. I've come to like this a whole lot. But, with that being the case, we see that Maki... We gotta start with some anti-glaze. It looks like she goes to straight. Like, it seems somewhat at an angle, like notably, despite piercing Sukuna like this, let's see, like that, head on through his back, what actually ends up looking like it happens here is, it looks like she tilts it. Like she tilts the blade to the side with the grip of her hand, and then goes to tear out of Sukuna. Meaning that she wasn't actually aiming to split him in half here. Kind of. It looked like she was aiming to like tear out of his shoulder, which would have admittedly had that bro leaning, but still wouldn't have executed him. So I guess the plan really is, he'll be fine. Remove his heart. Though, once again, Sukuna does fully dodge off of it. Now that he knows she's there, once again, the big issue, all the element of surprise is gone. There's nothing else that they can do about that now that they've sacked it. And we see Sukuna go, oh, that possessed brat. He burst the domain on purpose. Probably to signal his allies outside. Now, that's a question for him. When did Yuta do it? Like, as he got cut? Or right before? Like, the question is, did Yuta hear Sukuna start chanting and then start to break the domain? Or was he hit and then started to break the domain? Because there's a big thing that happens later on this chapter that does raise questions for later. That we'll once again get to. But I'm wondering when the point is. Because Yuta looked genuinely bamboozled as he got hit by the world slide. Like, notably, there are times where in JJK there'll be like characters getting hit by something or doing something, and then you'll like get a hint that, oh no. There's something a little bit more there. I see a little smirk on their face, a little bit of upturned lips. I see you. No, Yuta just looked genuinely bamboozled. So I wonder when he started to break the domain. Was it when he was in half? And then he just started to shatter it anyway? Does having not count as enough lethal damage to shut down a domain? I don't know. Because, like, Sukuna was shutting down domains from getting his chest pounded. It was in his back. That's fine. Like, from getting his chest pounded. So, I don't know. Very, very weird stuff. But, with it being the case, Sukuna brings up the fact that, they planned to use the barrier rupturing to distract me when I was certain of victory, so the woman with heavenly restriction could strike. It must be possible to pass through an ordinary barrier if you have no cursed energy. They must have planted the cursed tool ahead of time. So yeah, that once again, that does raise a weird question. Maybe the culling game barriers are different. But like, and the thing is, so it really must have just entirely been the plan. Because what if Maki entered the wrong way? Like, how would they have known? Like, would she have had to course correct? Because presumably it goes like this, right? Yuta, Sukuna, Maki. But what if, instead of it ending up that perfect way where it was in a straight line, where Maki presumably grabbed Soul Split Katana, which was right behind Sukuna, and then shoved it into his back? What if it barrier shatters, Maki runs in, and then it's Yuta, Sukuna, and then Maki? Or then Maki? Or then, like, what if the Soul Split was in the wrong spot? Like, that plan is a little bit riskier. And I think it does kind of soft contradict what is mentioned earlier in the culling games, or shown earlier in the culling games, with Maki being able to transcend barriers with Soul Split, no worm. Because remember, she doesn't do anything. Toji was able to get through barriers with his cursed tools because he had the worm, then swallowed the worm. His zero curse energy self ended up acting as like I'm not going to say like basically a sonar blocker, essentially. So nothing, even though he had a whole cursed spirit inside of him, could be recognized. Maki didn't have that during the culling games. So I guess the culling games allow cursed tools to be thrown in and out freely, but regular barriers don't. Interesting. Very interesting. It's a nerf, but a soft enough nerf, because usually Maki will be wielding Soul Split anyway. If I had to take a guess, right? Because like the main thing you can have here is like, oh, well, if you're fighting Maki barehanded and then she goes to reach for Soul Split, or she dropped it and she's going to go pick it up, as long as you open the domain, she now has to face you inside the domain barehanded. She doesn't have to engage with you with Soul Split because she's not able to, because your domain blocks out cursed tools. But maybe culling game barrier domains don't. Interesting. Once again, I do like this little graphic. This is beautiful. But we see that Sukuna realizes this wound is healing slower than the others. Which, once again, and this is an issue that we'll talk about as we get to the end, and I do have a video planned on it, a video or two really, talking about it. So what does any of it mean? Does he have slower healing speed or not? Is his soul and body control weakening or not? Is he valid? Or is he what? Like legitimately, what did all the damage do? What did the battle with Gojo do? What did the battle with Itadori do? What did the battle with Yuta do? Because I don't know. He's able to casually, admittedly, seemingly enough, subconsciously heal soul damage? And he seems to be healing fine enough for the most part. Like, I don't know. It feels like, despite Sukuna consistently saying, oh no, the control of my body, oh no, the RCT, oh no, everything keeps falling, he seems pretty much fine. No worse for wear. But I guess the way you rationalize that with all the statements of him not going all out, I guess you could argue his output is just genuinely so high it's off screen. And then after all that he's been through, now it's probably finally on screen. Like at the level of everybody else. So even though he kept getting beat, ow, 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 it only just now got on screen. Where before it was like beyond the heavens. That's the only way you can kind of rationalize it. Because I'm shocked that he's able to heal this, well, not as easily. Notably, he's never implied to have gotten his heart back by the end of the chapter. In fact, quite the opposite is implied. But still, he's doing fine for somebody who can apparently barely control himself or his body, and whose output is apparently in the garbage after multiple hits from Yuji and the battle with Satoru Gojo. But we see, once again, my girl gets a confirmation, but a nerf. And someone pointed out, and I'll say it too, every single time something gets further explained in Jujutsu Kaisen, the weaker it becomes. Like that's it. The more you elaborate on something in JJK, the worse it becomes overall. Because more harder set rules are clamped in on it. Because it gets revealed here. When someone who can observe souls wields split soul katana, Reverse curse technique doesn't usually heal the wound. Repairing the soul's shape requires comprehending the soul's contours. 2 souls inhabit Sukuna's body, so he was aware of the contours of his own soul, much like with Yuji Itadori. But he couldn't perfectly adapt to reverse curse technique, functioning differently than usual, while suffering the after effects of his fight against Satoru Gojo. So, this is nice, because it does confirm a couple things. Number one, in spite of Sukuna's overwhelming power relative to Maki, and his extremely powerful soul, didn't matter. He didn't have like a secondary soul durability. He couldn't guard it at all, or wasn't even being subconsciously guarded. Maki was able to, with no issue at all. Meaning that even if your soul's super duper strong, the Duraneg is Duraneg, bruh. You ain't doing all that. At least up to Sukuna's level of power. Crossverse, of course, there are limits. Like, I don't think Maki slashing Beerus or Doji slashing Beerus with Soul Split. I don't think that's how that'll work out, but who knows. But the main thing that this does is it confirms that if you have multiple souls, or you can perceive the shape of your soul, or you understand the nature of your soul to some degree, essentially if you have soul knowledge, you can heal Soul Split damage. It doesn't actually stop anything, which admittedly makes it worse than Idle Transfiguration, because what Idle Transfiguration does, it changes the shape of your soul. Your soul's not the same. After you get hit by Idle Transfiguration, it's wraps for your soul, bucko. Like, that's legit just it. It is straight wraps, because there's nothing actually wrong with it. Your soul's just a different shape now. Your arm, that was traditionally in the soul shape of an arm, is now shaped like a cactus. So your flesh will consistently reform into a cactus. There ain't nothing wrong with that. But now, any character who does have the ability to heal and has perception of the soul will be able to restore damage from Soul Split. And of course, I would try to use this as a thing in Takari Kinji. Maybe, unlike where Mahito, if he were to transfigure Hikari's soul and then he tried to jackpot out of it, I don't think it would restore the original shape of his soul. Hikari could possibly regenerate his soul with RCT, considering his is of the highest level. Even better than Sukuna's subconsciously, since he doesn't actually know how to do it. So maybe Soul Split still has weird interaction with Hikari, where she could slice him to ribbons, but he'd still just grow back. No lack of regeneration, essentially. Because while it does damage the soul, it's explicitly stated here, it damages the soul, it doesn't, if you have really, really good RCT, it doesn't permanently damage it. But the question is, how good is automatic RCT? How good is Sakari's automatic RCT? Because if it's like good, if it's better than Sukuna's all around, then Hikari doesn't need the second soul. But if it's limited to the point where it's based on Hikari's soul and the shape it's in, then that could still mean that Maki Toji run his pockets, because they just tear right through him. And he wouldn't be able to heal that off because it's too high level. Maybe. But once again, this is the same man who dealt with poisons casually. Someone that Uraume, who's been around for who knows how long, still hasn't necessarily fully mastered or gotten a grasp of. Poison can still affect them. So maybe yes, no, maybe so. I don't know. It is weird. It is weird. Once again, it is a soft nerve. Any characters that that know about souls can perceive them, can perceive them and can interact with them. They can all not like easily heal, but essentially Soul Split damage is not permanent on them. Now, of course, in JJK, this doesn't matter all too much for most matchups, but like, nah, really it doesn't. Because all the dual-souled characters, except for like Yuji and Sukuna, I don't think they have RCT. We never saw Ryu use RCT. We never saw Earl use RCT. We never saw Reggie use RCT. Like, none of them actually have RCT. Never saw Kashimo use RCT. So, like, I think maybe that's it. Maybe that's why everything is still essentially working out fine with Soul Split in its matchups, because most of them don't have RCT. RCT is still the base requirement, but where RCT was a requirement for just general physical damage, with soul damage you need RCT and the perception of the soul, or at least the ability to perceive it. Once you have both of those, then you can heal, but even then you'll heal slowly. But of course, the healing is even on top of Sukuna's already slowed healing, because it's soul damage, which is interesting, very, very interesting. But we see a little something interesting. Very, very interesting. As Yuji Itadori. Itadori Yuji declares, "Fushiguro, not yet!" He has yet to give up on Megumi. So, I'm so sorry. This comes to a discussion that a lot of the community has been having, constantly has been having for a while now, but has definitely come to the forefront after 251. Is Megumi worth it? Is he? Is he really? Like, on a utilitarian front, is he worth it? The answer is no. Like being real. I understand. This is all to save Megumi. But once again, it's, I don't want to, see, I feel so bad saying that. And I do like that Yuji Itadori is still determined. The fact that he immediately charges back in, and it's not any feared will or any, like, internal reason. Well, it technically kind of is. It ends up being an internal reason. But, like, it's not anything of Yuji wanting to abandon Megumi or leave him behind or anything. No, Yuji immediately hops back in, is ready to run in there, ready to keep fighting for Megumi. But, like, dude, so many people have fallen at this point. We're in a net negative. Like, unless we really end with just Kashimo falling, and, like, somehow Gojo gets back up, and Higuruma gets back up, and Yuta gets back up, and everyone gets back up, and everyone's fine, and yay, and happy. Like, I just don't think he's worth it. Especially not now that he has access to the merger. Like, I'm not even sure how we get rid of that. Like, is it once? That's another question for when Sukuna goes back to Megumi, or Megumi transforms back into Sukuna. What happens from there? Does Megumi just have the potential to start the merger at any moment? Does Megumi have to end the culling? How does that work? I'm not sure if they thought that far ahead. I'm really not, especially considering that was a completely unknown factor. So legit, Megumi is a threat to humanity. On countless levels. Not only just for the fact that he's the vessel of the King of Curses, which they really need to delete, but also for the fact that he now contains the ability to immediately sentence all of Japan to being a cursed conglomerate that, unlike Sukuna, who, as Kusakabe points out, would most likely stay stationary and probably not do all too much, the cursed conglomerate would do who knows what. Sure, it's Tengen, but it'd be Tengen corrupted by who knows how much evil and desire for destruction. And if it follows any sort of curse-like mindset, it's going to want to destroy humans. And there's likely nothing on the planet that'd be able to stop it from destroying humans if it really felt like it. So, like, is he legit worth keeping around, or should they just have gone for it? I'm kind of leaning towards they should have just gone for it. Once again, because the opportunities keep slipping away. Gojo lost. He may come back now with that door open, but who knows? He lost. And if Sukuna really hasn't gone all out, if we take that at face value, Sukuna didn't even go out against Gojo. What is Gojo doing if he comes back? Other than getting sliced to half again if Sukuna's going serious. What is Yuta supposed to do when he comes back? Other than getting sliced to half again if Sukuna starts going serious. What is Maki supposed to do if she can't even land a single hit on a more playful Sukuna throughout this entire chapter outside the first one she lands when she tagged him? With a sneak attack. What is Yuji supposed to do? Like, legitimately, with Sukuna being as overwhelmingly powerful as he is, and the secondary threat of big merger happening, I think Megumi should be gone. Is it sad? Is it awful? Is it tragic? Absolutely. I don't want to say that Megumi's a lost cause. I don't want to say that Megumi's not worth saving. I don't want to say that it's a liability and a risk for the entire human race if Yuji keeps trying to save Megumi and doesn't just call it and be like, yo, go for the head. Like legitimately, I don't want to say all that. But at this point, even if they do save him, they're down 3 people, solidly. Gojo, Kashimo, and Higuruma. And sure, Kashimo didn't care less. He really couldn't. He was like, whatever, I'm going for it because I'm going for it. He wanted to do it. So, like, Kashimo's fine. He's fine with that. But, like, Higuruma and Gojo, they're both gone. Because of Megumi. And many more could still fall because of Megumi. It's not a guarantee that Yuta's coming back. It's just heavily implied that he'll be fine and he'll be coming back. So, like, he may come back, but still, we're losing so much. And once again, there have been 2 clean opportunities. Of course. People must have gotten it misconstrued. I still believe there are ways. It's stick a controller up his butt and control him absolutely and make him perform optimally and keep Sukuna acting stupid ways. But, like, there are ways that Gojo could have beaten Sukuna if he had played his cards differently, with extra information after the fact, or if he played more cautious. But one, clearly in character, Gojo was never going to do that. So I think Gojo, digi-destined to lose. He's either losing to that first health bar, like he did, or he's losing to the second health bar, once the second health bar spawned in. And apparently he was holding back on Gojo the entire time, according to Gojo himself, and apparently this chapter from Uruume. So, there's that. And two, even if you don't like that idea that Gojo could win, if you are in the camp that Gojo never stood a chance, and I do agree Kashima never stood a chance, and I do agree that Higuruma never stood a chance, Yuta could have vaporized him. Last chapter, just keep the domain sure hit going. And he would have never been able to cast World Slash and get Yuta up out of here. Maki could have gone for the head. Whether it be just piercing him straight through it or taking his dome off. But they didn't, because they're still trying to save Megumi, and I don't think he's worth it. I don't think so. I think he's too much of a liability now. Maybe if it really... No, probably. Even if it was just Sukuna. Even if the merger never completed. Or like it was never transferred. Even if Kenjaku had... If Yuta had gone for the brain, not just the head, when he removed Kenjaku's dome and got him out of here, and the merger never got transferred over, Megumi just containing Sukuna. Well, really not containing, being Sukuna. I think it's just not worth it. Though I do like the fact that Yuji still wants to save him. Don't get me wrong. This is me approaching it from a, I don't really know Megumi, not the biggest fan of Megumi's character. I kind of do want a more tragic end for Yuji. I think it would be awful, but appropriate if Yuji was the only one out of his own group, or out of everyone who's left alive in the end, if he lost and failed at saving Megumi, because Jujutsu Kaisen is a story of failures and loss and suffering. Like that's what the story is about. So trust me, that's me coming at it from this angle. But, once again, I transcend the narrative. I have external opinions on these characters. I don't really care for Megumi all too much, at least not as a character like a lot of other people do. So I'm fine with sacking him. But I do like that Yuji isn't. Don't take me saying that Megumi's a lost cause, meaning me saying that Yuji shouldn't waste time saving him, or it's a bad thing that Yuji's wasting time saving him. It makes sense. Once again, Megumi's Yuji's only friend now. Or at least friend that he knew for longer than like 10 seconds. Nanami's gone. Nobara's gone. Gojo's gone. Yuta, Maya. I was gonna say Panda. Panda. Inumaya. It's just Megumi. So I understand why Yuji's so determined, but still, may not be worth it at this point. However, we do get to see, once again, it hits him. Internally, he just... a different kind of blood manipulation, if you know what I'm talking about. But we see that Yuji's like, oh, what the? No, you know why this happened. And we see Yuji realizes, reverse curse technique is a big move you just learned, and you healed your wounds. You've healed 4 wounds that should have been fatal. You haven't healed there. You haven't fully healed. There must be some place you haven't fixed. But where? Hurry up and find it. Once again, I do like how business-orientated Yuji is. He's like, I gotta move. I gotta find it. I gotta fix it. I gotta fix it. I gotta get back in the fight. Gotta get back in the fight. Gotta get back in the fight. He's very much about the business. 100%. He's locked in. His emotional core isn't gone. That's the good thing. He still wants to save Fushiguro. He still has his eyes set on the prize of saving Megumi as a payback for Megumi saving him. But at the same time, due to that, it's leading to things like this. It's leading to that self-destructive tendency. It's leading to his own harm and destruction and his rashness, which I do think is a good balance. It's not all purity, not a bunch of good things coming out of it. And once again, I like how someone else comes in and helps Yuji through it, showing the importance of the bonds of other people, as his big brother shows up. Calm yourself. Remember and envision. Send blood to every part of your body, as if extending roots. Imagine you're shaping your body through your blood vessels. So, Choso comes in and ends up being that restorative piece. Now, of course, this is different from Todo's role that he played in Shibuya, where he literally had to tell Yuji to get back up. Keep fighting. We are the exception. Throw hands. Like that was different because Todo had to go in a lot harder in order to make Yuji get back up and make him realize now we got to keep moving forward. We can't just let ourselves give into this despair, this darkness, this evil. Todo had to do a lot more, but I like that Choso was alive and was able to be this guide for Yuji, especially in a way that only he can, because he's the big brother who decided to stay behind. Kamo still has the technique. He still most likely taught Yuji how to use it as well as he did, through Supernova, through Piercing Blood, through all that. But it's Choso, the man who can heal and also has blood manipulation, and Yuji's genuine older brother, who's able to come in and help guide him properly on how to regenerate, on how to feel his body path out, and how to understand it. That's great. Once again, JJK suffers from being extremely tightly written. there's so little time for anything, especially character bonds. It's why a lot of things end up feeling hollow, like Sumuki as a character, like Yorozu as a character, like Uro as a, well, not, I keep naming female character, like, heck, even Nanami, Nobara, every single character who's fallen to some degree feels a little bit hollow, except for, like, characters who've gotten a whole bunch of time, like Gojo, because of how little time there is. So I definitely appreciate moments like these, where the bonds between characters are not just being highlighted, but are the forefront for our main character to keep moving forward. And once again, I like how the needle's moving, essentially. Where before people were needed for Yuji to survive, and for Yuji to keep moving forward mentally, all Choso's doing here is properly guiding his baby brother on how to use his new abilities properly. And another thing I like that Yuji didn't become a master of RCT immediately. I like that he is struggling. He still hasn't learned everything yet. It's still proper. I know a lot of people want Yuji to become broken. I know a lot of people want Yuji to become the strongest by the end of the series. I know everyone wants Yuji to be your traditional broken, crazy main character. But I don't like that. I like that Yuji's balanced in the way that he is, even though he's still broken. So I greatly appreciate that Gege did buff him. Massive buffs. Giving a cursed technique means he now has access to domain, or a maximum. Giving a cursed technique means he now has abilities that he would have never had before. Giving him a cursed technique has now unlocked 100% of that, what was previously a 20% of his potential. All that. But it's still balanced. It's still reasonable. He didn't suddenly leap up to the moon. He's still him. And not in the him sense like Sukuna's him, but in the him sense that it's still the same character. And I love that. That's beautiful. Chef's kiss. Nice work, Gege. However, with that being the case, we don't see these two for the rest of the chapter. As we cut away to the main event. Maki versus Sukuna. Now, I've once again come to give you a warning. We are now about to enter the glazening. The great glazening of chapter 252. I will be doing some extreme glazing. And some admittedly, probably faulty, but I'll try not to make it faulty, scaling, and comparisons. If you think I've been yapping so far, you aren't ready to hear my true yap. I'm about to activate my domain expansion, Horizon the Captivating Yapper. So, let's hop right into it. So, we see that Maki and Sukuna are now forced to fight each other alone. With Yuji being on lockdown, being forced to recover, Sukuna's extreme speed, and Maki being the main one who tagged him at the start, unfortunately no one else is really able to catch up and keep pace with this battle. Kusakabe is too far away from the domain and the whole conflict right here, so he's not able to reach it. Ino clearly isn't able to reach it. No one else is there, and Choso's currently with Yuji trying to help him recover to get back into the battle, so we are forced to go to simply Maki versus Sukuna. And we see the two start running. And once again, I do love this. I love how Sukuna just immediately booked it away, and Maki's forced to chase. And I also like this interaction right here. I'm assuming what happens here is that Maki's like, come back here, I need to keep cutting you. And Sukuna's like, you want to talk about cutting? And he sends out a slash. Maki, at least presumably, dodges it here. The reason I say this is a slash and not Sukuna doing anything else is, one, look at this light fixture here. And then look at what happens to this light fixture after Sukuna swings his hand. This looks like a dismantle that just whiffed on Maki. He was aiming for her, missed, but still tagged the light pole. Light pole broke, but she was gone. And notably, it looks like she likely skipped off air here. Once again, further building into the narrative that Heavenly Restriction users and Sukuna can kind of sort of pseudo-fly. Once again, I'm not exactly sure what to call it. I guess it's just air stepping. Like, essentially, just because I was like in Smash Bros, or I guess not even just in Smash Bros, in fighting games in general, any character who can double jump, they're just doing that. Like, they're all just double jumping. Because Maki is in midair. And then, when the slash gets sent at her from Sukuna, she's able to react, completely weave it, and move towards this pole to bounce off it to get more momentum to slide here. And note, Sukuna doesn't actually leave the throwing pose before Maki's all the way down here and swinging for his ankles, which is very, very good speed. However, once again, you know your boy's going to start glazing soon, but I ain't going to start glazing immediately, because Maki does completely whiff here. Sukuna does dodge. Well, to be fair, she doesn't whiff, but Sukuna tracks her movements and dodges, showing that while Maki is still extremely fast, and if you think she hasn't gotten any stronger, because we don't have a clarification or a statement from Sukuna on how the Heavenly Restriction users could have gotten stronger, then Maki and Toji are real speedy, real good. They're able to react to, perceive, and avoid dismantles, but this is a very casual dismantle from Sukuna, who's still very clearly playing around, and is currently undergoing consistent pumping of cursed energy into his heart in order to make sure that he can pump blood throughout his body. and we're covering his arms and his tongues and his everything, really. I'm not sure. Let me see. Does his face even fully heal before the end of the chapter? It's hard to tell, because I don't think we actually see the side of his face where we'd be able to judge whether or not... Nah, yeah, look. He's even still healing this. Like, when Yuta slashed his mouth open. So, Sukuna is still definitely going through it, to the point where I still think it is low-key embarrassing that an entirely fresh Maki's done nothing today. She's done nothing but hit that sprinter pose. And the fact that she doesn't tag Sukuna here is pretty sad. But, watch. Sukuna leaps into the air. Maki transitions, and I love this. Once again, I know it's not too crazy, but your boy's not a swordsman, so I find it impressive. She dives in, goes for the swing. Sukuna leaps the swing, meaning she was in striking range, so Sukuna's forced to dodge. But then Maki transitions from the swing into an immediate stab. I don't know, I just find that neat. I nearly stabbed my camera. But I feel like, I think that's neat. And we see that Maki and Sukuna are essentially consistently trading positions throughout this battle. Sukuna first starts off on the defensive, switches to the offensive, sending out Dismantle. Maki's on the defensive, goes in for the attack, switching to the offensive. Sukuna goes into the defensive with a jump. Then Sukuna immediately goes back in for the offensive by limiting Maki's offensive capabilities and goes in for something here. Admittedly, I'm not sure what his plan was. Like, he notes earlier in the chapter that what in the world just happened? My heart is taking a hot minute to heal. What is going on? So he like notices. He notices that the wound is healing slower than others, but he for some reason puts his hand on Maki's blade. Now, once again, I'm going to chalk this up to Sukuna using the dismantle technique. Like the technique he displayed against Yuta, where he just was like, oh, for real, and just... But while I'm actually holding the blade and nearly cutting myself, what Sukuna did was he was using dismantles, essentially holding blades around the blade. Which does mean, hypothetically, that Soul Split isn't effective on dismantle, which kind of makes sense. Because I guess it's not an inanimate object, it's a cursed object. But then again, it would have durability. Interesting. But, notably here, which is an impressive feat for Sukuna as much as it is for Maki, Sukuna, when he smiles at Maki and goes to do something, once again, I'm not sure. He still doesn't have this hand back. This hand is seemingly not fully recovered, and he still has this hand to work with. So only one hand is down. He may have been trying to go in for a dismantle, or maybe reach out for a cleave or something here. He's shocked to find that Maki can just roll, like, straight manhandle, bro. And, like, throw him around. Which means either A, Sukuna was just generally holding on to Soul Split and just didn't get cut, which is crazy. B, he was using the technique that he was like still gripping. Like the dismantle mini cuts that he was using were so tightly bound into his hand that he could hold on. Because no, Maki doesn't just topple, bro. Like literally flip him upside down by admittedly just flipping the sword over in her wrist. She does this one-handed, by the way. She does not put her other hand on the blade to completely knock Sukuna off his balance and dunk him into the ground. But she does that and then has to launch him off. Like you ever broken free of somebody else's grip? Like you ever been grabbed and just been like, whoa, bucko. Not for free. $5.99 now. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That's illegal. In most states. I think most states. If not all states. I need to double check. I don't need to double check. Don't double check. But like, the fact that she's able to toss Sukuna here is pretty impressive. And I guess, legally speaking, you could count this as a hit. Because notably, the SFX here say slam. Meaning she did straight bonk Sukuna on the ground and then throw him. Where Sukuna just does not land a hit this chapter. Like not a single one. Which is still impressive for Maki. But still, Sukuna's holding back. Currently missing a heart. And is currently going through it. But Maki does slam bam him, as the SFX declare, slam bam him into the ground and then a whole other building. Which is still very impressive. Outside of Rika, and I know y'all are going to be like, here comes Pencil with the Unlimited Glaze. You aren't ready for the Unlimited Glaze expansion. It's coming soon. Do I have to put a pause on that? I'm going to put a pause on that. You know what I mean. But essentially, when Maki throws, bro, she's the first person to actually fully manhandle this Sukuna. Period, point blank. She just is. Like, Yuta didn't do that. He knocked Sukuna around with admittedly the cleanest uppercut in the entire series. Where he straight, and the Sukuna was like, whoa, and like he was knocked off his feet. But in terms of straight with no run-up, legit standing there and just moving her arm to toss Sukuna like this. She's the first to do it. The only other person who's moved Sukuna like this, especially in such a disrespectful fashion, is Rika. When she's straight. But, once again, look at Maki and look at Rika. The size and the bulk of those arms are completely different. The fact that Maki's able to manhandle him like this is very, very impressive. And, once again, I'll admit, I like how you can see it. She starts off the battle, devious, mnemonic, a little bit creature-esque here from the start. Serious, locked in. Throws Sukuna back. Well, not throws Sukuna back. I think Sukuna generally just dodges off the blade here. Then, you see, they have their little interaction. Sukuna throws the first slash. Maki dodges it, realizes she can dodge. Still looks serious. Then after Sukuna weaves, she starts a little bit. You see the smile start to go up. But she still has that downward pointed little, like, she's still locked in, a little bit focused. But then the moment Sukuna grabs the blade and she realizes that she can manhandle, bro, she goes from to and just yeet, bro. I don't know. Once again, it's the tone shift that does not break the seriousness of the situation. It's hard. It's very difficult to do. There are many times in other series where there will be tone breaks, where the melancholy and duller of a situation gets shattered to the detriment of the narrative. I've seen it happen in JJK before. Actually, have I? I can't quote one though. But I've seen it happen in MHA. I'm pretty sure it's happened in JJK. I've seen it happen in Bleach. I've seen it happen in Naruto. I've seen it happen in Dragon Ball all the time. I've seen it happen in numerous different places. So it's hard to do it. But I do appreciate the tone shift and the smile that comes across Maki's face as what it does for her character. And feeding into the narrative of her being that monster. Once again, I think Gege pays a lot of lip service to certain ideas and concepts. Samuki, a character that gets a whole lot of lip service, very little actual time of development. I ain't gonna lie to you. Megumi, he gets development, but a lot of lip service too. I don't think the bond between Yuji and Megumi is like entirely fandom based. They spend probably a collective of maybe 10 chapters or less together in this 252 chapter series. Like, if we're just totaling the page count of the two of them sharing a panel, like they share very little time together. A lot of lip service is paid to that. A lot of time is skipped over. Nobara, lip service to the extreme. We get a flashback, but that's right after she's about to get cooked anyway. So, like, there's a lot of lip service paid. And one of the biggest things that got fat amount of lip service, a fantastic knob job from Gege, was the idea that Maki became a monster, a creature, disconnected, different, in a sense, than she was before, and different than everybody else. And that's what Sakurajima was all about. Maki acknowledging her differences, her freedom, her uniqueness, thanks to being a perfected Heavenly Restriction, Zero Cursed Energy Heavenly Restriction user. But I'll admit, it didn't really come across, especially when they would bring it up. Like, when Maki first dropped off the body with Momo, Mai's body, she's like, oh no, what happened? And Maki doesn't answer, she just keeps it pushing. Because what is she supposed to do? What do you think happened? She's cooked! The clan's cooked! I cooked them all! I'm going! Of course. Simple as that. I don't blame Maki for that. I wouldn't say that's an idea of her monsterhood. The whole idea of Maki and Sakurajima. She, if anything, she went opposite of monster. She became free. She was liberated. She became the one who left it all behind, in a sense. And even after Sukumo's end, and the relaying of that to Megumi and Itadori, they're very like, Zenin Senpai's changed. She's saying this all so casually, this to me. Like, what do you want her to say? She didn't know Yuki. Choso's still alive, and she didn't know Choso either. She's just stating facts. Like, I don't know what emotional reaction you really expected from a character who she may have interacted with for like 5 minutes. But this, in the worst scenario ever. The worst scenario ever. Her homeboy, sliced in half. Her sensei, sliced in half. Everyone on the verge of falling. The merger transferred over. The number of heavy hitters who are viable for combat dropping. She's currently running the ones with the king of curses. No matter how weak he is, it's still the king of curses. 3 arms back, 2 eyes restored and locked in. But she's smiling. She's enjoying it. She loves the feeling of battle. And I love it. Once again, you can have your characters that fight for fighting's sake. You can have those. You can have those characters who fight to protect their friends for their nakama. Those work too. But something about a character that when the chips are down, when everything's going bad, when even in the deepest and darkest of scenarios, they can still grin, they can still cherish that battle. Oh, it's so different. That's why Gojo smiling in the Sukuna fight was so cool. Because bro had just lost his arm. When they started tweaking off them black flashes, he hit that grin and the king felt fear for the first time in 1,000 years. That's what hit so different. It was that smile, that cheese, and that started. And it's the same thing with Maki here. The fact that we're getting her enjoying it, savoring it, almost, not even almost, just genuinely hungry for the conflict. It's so good, it's so peak, it's delicious. I want it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's fantastic. And I love how Sukuna still is in it. And then, once again, that's the biggest way. That's the biggest way I can buy you into this chapter. Sukuna, for short appearances, will stop smiling. He will. And there's a statement, first time in 1,000 years he felt fear. But, you know, back in my day, when we'll get to the Sukuna statement eventually. I'm gonna make a whole video talking about it because it's this chapter in numerous ways has caused an uproar in the community. Positive uproar, negative uproar, neutral uproar, uproar. We might as well be a Pokemon, and we're all using uproar. A bunch of X-Plows everywhere. But Sukuna's smiling back. He's still also genuinely enjoying himself. When faced with someone who can actually deal with him, who can meet him on that physical level, not with anything else, just physicals and a sword. He's a little bit excited. He's grinning. Of course, Yuta and Rika were also meeting Sukuna with physicals and a sword, but not in the same way that Maki is. Yuta, he was still taking some hits. He was still being knocked around as soon as he started battling. He wasn't really dodging dismantles. People say I did double check that. Apparently Yuta dodged dismantle. When did that happen? In fact, do I check that right now? I may. I'll save that for the video because there's a video I'm planning off of this chapter. So like I won't check it there. But like, if you somehow made it as far into this review as you did, tell me when Yuta dodged dismantle, please. I'll look for it anyway, probably as soon as I'm done recording this. But like, tell me, because your boy, I very easily forget. But we see Sukuna go in to make the situation as complicated. Once again, the English betrays me. As complicated as possible, as he smacks his good hand on the wall and uses cleave to tear apart the wall, the pattern to tear it all down, which once again shows that Maki's still a cleave victim. I've heard some people saying it wouldn't work on her because she doesn't have cursed energy. And that's cleave wouldn't be useful cross-verse because it only adjusts the things with cursed energy. It does not. This is a rock. This is a building. It does not have cursed energy. Still gets cleaved though. So Maki's still a cleave victim. No, don't get it twisted. But we see Maki once again with the hand of that sidewinder smile as all this rubble rushes towards her. And we see she swings and starts to swing through it as everything falls down. Sukuna throws his hands forward and the chaos begins, dragging down from the building. I do like how it's implied here, though, that Sukuna is like Spider-Man gripping the wall he's on. Like, he doesn't even shift here. He's generally just... like, he's digging in with those fingers and them feats of his, and he's just holding on. And we see this. Now, this is where the glazing is about to begin in extreme. I hope you haven't minded my Maki glazing so far. It's about to get ludicrous and devious. I need you to look really, really hard at this panel with me. And correct me if I'm wrong. In fact, there is one thing I'm going to check. And I'm going to check it right now using my other Googler, not the one that I'm currently using right in this instant. Allow me to head to VizMangi right this instant. Show me Vizotan. Please. Please. Shonen Jump. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Work with me. There we go. 251. 251, let's check. You never recovered the last one. You ate it. Num num. Nibble nibble. Tribble tribble. Let me see what the whole chant looks like. Let me just make sure. Let me just make sure. Maximum output. I gave up. Dragon Scales Repulsion. Paired Falling Stars. Paired Falling Stars. Maki dodges World Slash. I'm just going to say it. In the initial review of the spoilers, in the quick review of the spoilers, and in the quick review of the chapter, I didn't see it. And I'm glad for those who pointed it out to me. Look right here. Right where my cursor is. This is the cursor. You see the cursor is dancing. It's doing this little dancey dance. It's going up, down, left, and right. That's right. It's just up, down, left, and right. Up, down, left, and right. But look at this right here. Look at this little speech bubble. This is very clearly a speech bubble. This is not a piece of rubble. I've seen people try to say it's a piece of rubble. It's not a piece of rubble. This is a speech bubble. Okay. Now look at this one. This is also a speech bubble. But notably, They're being whispered. They're very tiny. They're very small. They're meant to get lost in here. Just as Maki's not supposed to hear it. And you can see she's dodging, bobbing, weaving, likely slicing through the debris as it comes towards her to make sure she doesn't get hit. Because once again, she doesn't get tagged the entire chapter. But this is the first part. This is the second part. This right here is presumably Sukuna whispering. Let me get all close in your ear. Dragon scales. And then this is Sukuna whispering, most likely, repulsion. And this is finally Sukuna dropping the final bar, paired falling stars. And you see Maki's eyes snap open, and then a slash tear through reality right over her head, cleaving apart the very world itself. Maki Zenin is the first character. I'm saying first because I'm assuming it's going to happen again. Now that this has happened, I'm assuming it's going to happen again. But she's the first character. Let me lay the blade down. She's the first. I need y'all to listen. I need y'all to listen. She's the first character to dodge World Slash. But this has weird implications, and I kind of don't like it. Now here's the thing. Before, I was... Let go of my chair, you dawn bag. But this has weird implications that I kind of don't like it. Thing number one. Before, in the initial review, in the quick review, I kind of just assumed that this was just like a strong dismantle. Because this was the only bubble I saw. I was like, I didn't even notice these two. They were very well hidden. They're overlaying concrete debris / smoke debris. And they're hidden under these larger SFX of all the rocks falling. Like, they're very well hidden. For a good reason. Once again, it's meant to portray that. That Maki wasn't supposed to hear it. Sukuna's very likely... like very much beneath his breath. And then Maki finally notices on the final chant, paired falling stars. So, this is just World Slash. Before, I was able to write it off as a strong dismantle. Because it was only one part of the chant. That's what I thought. But this is full 3-stage chant. Full 3-stage. And every time he does that, it's World Slash. But then you may be wondering, Pencilman, why do you not like it? It moves. It moves, gosh darn it. Unless, because the thing is, these look like motion lines. It looks like these look like wind effects of like a gigantic blade cleaving through Korea. Like, it moves. And the thing is, this doesn't make it any better. She reads my techniques better than other sorcerers, much like when I battled Maharaka in Shibuya. So, am I happy that Maki was able to hit the splits on it real quick to dodge it? Absolutely! Do you know what this does for my agenda? Through the roof! Because here's the thing, right? Let's just address all low-played arguments. I'll admit, this is the weakest variation of Sukuna we've seen since 235/236. That's the only Sukuna I can argue is weaker, because that guy's still missing a hand in his foot. He's barely alive. That's Sukuna at the end of 235, and at the start of 236, and to the end of 237. He's barely alive. I'll agree. That's the only weaker variation of Sukuna. But remember, that was the Sukuna that used World Slash for the first time. And tagged 4 Black Flash tweaking Gojo. That's how that happened. And that's crazy, for one. But the thing is, I excused World Slash. I'm flipping back and forth between the downplaying arguments, because I've seen it. People have already been trying to downplay this for Maki and Toji. Naturally. I don't get it. Once again, we're in Agenda Kaisen. This is a consistent war of agendas. The series is called Sorcery Fight. It's our agenda fight. I'll be completely honest with you. I understand it. Fight for your agenda. Put up your dukes. Ming. Do what you need to do. But the way people try to downplay this is, one, supposedly, it's not World Slash. Even though it gets a 3-stage chant. But then, the big issue is with that, how do we differentiate World Slash then? Do we need to wait for characters to say it? Like, does the narrator need to explicitly say it's World Slash? I see 3-stage chant, I see World Slash. Right? That's what he did against Gojo. That's what he did against Kashimo. That's what he did against Hiruma. That's what he did against Yuta. And that's what he's doing against Maki. For him to randomly do a 3-stage chant and then not World Slash seems weird. And notably, it's hard to tell because his hand is drawn kind of muddled here. But, at least here, he has his hand extended out. He's pointing. That's the hand sign that also goes with World Slash. It's what we see in 251. Maki dodges it. But the issue is, it moves. Which doesn't... Here's the thing. It doesn't necessarily break too much. It does seem weird, though. Why would it not tear through the domain Sukuna's in? Like, when it delete the space of the domain. But I guess domains are much bigger on the inside than the outside. So maybe it just stops traveling after a certain bit. But the issue with it traveling is, like... Does that mean you can have moving spatial attack? Because, like, essentially, the way I justify it, I'll talk about the Gojo thing first. The way I justified Gojo falling to World Slash is, one, because it was instantaneous and it didn't travel. Like, it just appeared on it. Like, that section of space that he was in got deleted. It may have been in the shape of this, in this crescent moon slash type shape, but deleted immediately. But, ironically enough, this isn't actually all too crazy. That it does move. Because one, people have been saying that for a while. It just moves. It just deletes space as it moves. Which is fine. And I may just have to start agreeing with. Because look at Yuta's back when it gets blown out. If it truly was a clean cut, like the space that Yuta was in just got deleted, then it wouldn't arc out like that. Do you see how his life splurts out? Like as if a crescent blade had passed through it and was taking it out with him. Like there was force going behind it. It does kind of make sense. That's the thing. What happened with Kashimo and Gojo, and even Higuruma, which had me so convinced that it wasn't, is because their blood didn't fly in any direction. It just didn't. It stayed where it was, for the most part. Like, unless I'm mistaken, and I don't have 236 on hand, but like, when Gojo was in half, it's not like there was like a puddle of blood between his lower body, which was still standing, and then his top half, which had fallen. There was no like trail there or any drop. For Kashimo, when his hand came off, his hand came off. It didn't seem like the blood did a splatter thing behind it. And especially with Kashimo, it looks like it skipped. Like, that's the big reason I was so adamant that World Slash skips space and doesn't actually travel. Because with Kashimo, it like the crescent blade that we see here. Let me just move this right back over. The crescent blade that we see here also appears during the Kashimo fight. But the thing is, it appears halfway embedded into the ground already. Which at least implied to me that, oh, it doesn't travel, it just appears. Because if not, why wouldn't the whole ground be torn apart on the way to Kashimo? Why wouldn't the whole ground be deleted if it was the slash that truly deletes the world? I don't know. Why would the blood arc out? I don't know. It didn't for Kashimo, and it didn't for Higuruma. So maybe the counter evidence you can imply here is that 3-stage chant, even though that's our only indicator for World Slash, doesn't actually mean World Slash. Or maybe Sukuna hasn't used World Slash once this entire time, but that feels weird too. Considering the whole last chapter was mentioning that Sukuna decided to risk it. He decided to go for the slash that cuts the world. Like, let me make sure I'm not tweaking. When he goes to open his hands up, let me see. No, not the whole soul Yuji explanation background. Slashing attacks are weakening. Ending Hollow Wicker Basket and bearing the effects of Angel's Curse technique while relying on Dismantle, that slash that cuts the world. So, like, he was going for that. And then he did the 3-stage chant, and he got it off. And then Yuta's blood arcs out as if the blade had genuinely passed through him, not simply appeared. So, maybe World Slash just moves. And the reason this does kind of bother me is, one, because that means World Slash has a set speed. It's a speed that can be reacted to, which nerfs Sukuna cross first. And also, it also just makes Infinity more... Because then, if you just have a spatial attack that moves, or consumes space as it moves, then you don't even have to worry about, like, instantaneously reaching Gojo or having something appear or spawn on Gojo that deals with space. Just send a spatial attack at him, and he's gonna be forced to deal with it. That's a big old hefty nerf for Gojo and Sukuna in a cross-verse sense. In-universe is still fine. World Slash is still broken. The guy did a job. But, like... Ooh, that's a bit unfortunate. And once again, the slash that Maharaga used also seemed clean. It's not like Gojo's blood spurt backwards from the hand cut off. In fact, Maharaga's actually seems the cleanest because it, like, threw the slash, and then instead of throwing it, it just appeared, and Gojo's arm was just, like, disconnected at the bicep. Nothing was sent backwards. So I don't know It is weird, but I'll chalk it up to Gei's inconsistency over anything else. Because once again, Maki dodges an earlier regular casual dismantle earlier on in the chapter. At least that's what I presume this is. I haven't seen an argument for what else this could be. Like, I don't know what else this could be other than a dismantle being thrown out and being completely weaved by Maki and slicing that light pole in half. But this one is World Slash. Spatial Slash. The dismantle that cleaves the world itself. And Maki dodges it. Now, there are certain things that go into this. Does that suddenly mean Maki and or Toji have better perception and reaction speed than the adult tweaking off 4 Black Flash's 6-size user Satu Gojo? No, not really. At least in my opinion, no, not really. Mainly because, as people have been saying, Gojo thought he won. He didn't know that Sukuna had something new. And he also probably, if he did perceive it, didn't think he needed to dodge it because he just saw it as a regular dismantle. He couldn't read that it was cutting the world at the speed it was traveling, and thusly, he probably thought it would happen like it happened at the start of their battle in like 223, when the dismantle that Sukuna launched just bounced off Infinity. Gojo probably thought, oh, this is the last desperate attempt at a dismantle, this won't cut me, and then he got cut in half. Because by the time he realized it was actually cutting through Infinity and cutting through him, it was too late. So that's how you can rationalize that. For every other character, though, Sukuna, unlike Kashimo, did not try to warn Maki. If anything, he did the exact opposite. He made a whole bunch of noise, blocked her field of view, seemingly enough whispered the previous 2 chants, is halfway across the battlefield, and she still reacted and dodged and heard it. Meanwhile, Sukuna explicitly said, hey yo bro, dodge this. I mean, at the same time he was saying the chant, but Kashimo got a warning, and he still got tagged. Same thing with Yuta. Though admittedly, Yuta is a bit different, because once again, he was much closer, for one. And 2, I don't think he was expecting that to happen. I don't think he was expecting that to happen. And if anything, he was looking, this chapter does confirm, he was looking for an excuse to collapse the barrier. At least that's what the plan seems to imply, right? Like that seems to be the case. And what better excuse than being cut in half? But at the same time, Maki's the only one of the crew who's been able to explicitly dodge dismantles. And a dismantle of this power. Now, of course, this is the weakest Sukuna. He's currently pumping curse energy throughout his body to manually pump his heart for him. So, yeah, it's weak. But remember, World Slash is specifically having its output recovered by the full chant and the hand sign, which Sukuna does in order to direct it and aim it at Maki, and she still dodges it. Even if you don't want to say this gives her better reaction speed than Yuta, which I'll talk about in a second, it should give her better reactions than Kashimo. They were basically in the same situation, except Kashimo was even farther away. And he still got tagged. Meaning that Maki and Toji, or at least Maki, because once again, we don't know if Maki's gotten stronger. We haven't gotten that clarified yet. She's the only one who we can't apply the universal buff from the time skip thing. Then Maki just has better reactions and perceptions than mythical Phantom Beast Amber Kashimo, because she was able to fully dodge. And note, Kashimo just had to move his body and hand to the left. Maki had to explicitly drop all the way down, or else she was getting Gojo'd. Go/Jode. Once again, I'll give Yuta a pass, because he's fighting a stronger Sukuna and wasn't expecting it to happen, because he thought Megumi was going to wake up, and he was also kind of sort of looking for an excuse. At the same time, I don't think we can compare this. Maki dodged the World Slash, Yuta didn't. Maki has better reaction speeds, better perception, and nothing that Yuta has would be able to tag her. Rika wouldn't be able to tag her. Yuji definitely wouldn't be able to tag her. Hikari may not be able to tag her. Like, once again, I genuinely think this just puts her above. This puts her on top. The only character she's definitively slower than is Sukuna and Gojo themselves. In terms of at least combat speed, based off this. But he's weaker. He's only, I say only, he's missing a heart. But he's already started to heal the heart. And this is a fully powered up, fully chanted, fully aimed and well-directed dismantle with a full chant that was being hidden by rubble and destruction. And she still heard it, react to it, and dodged it. I will chalk this up to her precog, a whole lot of that. But still, that means any attack, unless you think, now this is where it gets questionable. Do you think any of Yuji's or Yuta's or Hikari's attacks are faster than this? Do you? Do you think any of their attacks are faster than a full chant dismantle? Even if you don't think it's World Slash, which is fine. Even if you don't think it's World Slash because of it traveling, and you are a staunch believer that it doesn't travel like me, but now I'm kind of just changing my mind on that based on the evidence, which seems to contradict it now. Do you think any of their attacks are faster than World Slash? Because I don't. Not a single one of them are. At least in my opinion. Once again, I don't remember. I'm going to trust y'all, though. Y'all said you to dodge a dismantle. I don't remember him doing that, ever. But apparently he did. That was a regular dismantle, not a World Slash. Not a fully chanted dismantle. He clearly didn't dodge that. So I think this just confirms Maki is the best combat speed. Overall. Pound for pound. Bar for bar. I think so. Outside of, like, the literal gods. Yes. That means, and I know y'all aren't gonna like this, I think she has better combat speed than Big Jaku. Because Kenjaku has worse combat speed than base Yuta. Maki clearly doesn't. Hikari, once again, currently struggling against Urume. I'm gonna say pretty confidently that Urume is slower than Sukuna's World Slash. All their attacks are. Definitely faster than Yuji. I held that poll. No one believes in Yuji. So, like, Yuji above, Yuta above, Rika above. I think she's number 3. And if Toji and her are still equals, then Toji by proxy, number 3 in terms of combat speed, even above Kashimo. Because this is a verbatim equivalent situation. A fully chanted up Slash. Merely the Kashimo she fought, the Kashimo that still got tagged was fighting a stronger Sukuna. But with the chance and the hand sign, everything should be restored. And plus, Kashima got a warning while Maki didn't. Do what you will with that. We're going to talk about it more in another video. I'm just laying it out here. That's all the stuff I want to say about World Slash. That's all the Maki glaze I want to do. Hallelujah. But, let's move on. I spent way too much time talking about this. But I do like the callback to Maharaga. I do like that Sukuna's like, darn. Gosh darn it. I ran into the situation again. I do like how it's like a pseudo smile. He's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Meanwhile, Maki is pretty much just annoyed. She's like, oh, he's using cursed energy to simultaneously heal and keep his heart beating. So what Megumi said about their encounter in the juvenile detention center must be true. So she's just generally a bit annoyed. And I get that. Once again, outside of that slam dunk she did, which only happened when Sukuna genuinely held on to her sword, she doesn't tag him in this chapter. So, once again, I do believe Sukuna's faster. Especially if he was at full stats, he would definitely, full stats and fully trying, he's definitely faster. But, faster than his own World Slash? I don't know. But, with it being the case, we see that Maki still smiles. Because she's still enjoying herself. And he says, your heart, can you keep that up while battling me? And Sukuna says, at the moment, I'm in no trouble at all. And both are smiling. So Maki's in danger. Don't get me wrong, Maki's in straight danger. And if you didn't believe that Maki's in danger, we cut away to Mr. Stronger Than Yuta Koto himself over here. Hikari says, I doubt he's trying to hide it, but Sukuna's presence is pretty easy to spot. And Urume is like, what are you trying to say? And Hikari goes on to continue. That form of his looks pretty dangerous. And I love how the little drawing of form Sukuna. But we're doing alright. Sukuna's cursed energy is withering away. We're gonna win this, and you can bet on that. Of course, the Restless Game was all about that betting. And Urume simply smiles, and is like, your cursed technique and optimism are both absurd. Which, it is simultaneously a compliment and backhanded compliment. But that's so far what I've been really liking about Urume. That Urume, one way or another, is putting respect on the names of the modern sorcerers. Like, sure, she's calling them they. Once again, Hikari called her she. Hikari called them she. We still don't know. Unless Urume and Hikari were doing a different kind of fighting that we don't know about off panel in these past couple chapters, Hikari wouldn't know. He probably just fell for it the same way that US guy fell for it. Ain't no one clarify. So, the fact that Urume does give Hikari that backhanded compliment, it's still a compliment in the end. They believe that Hikari's technique and durability and survivability and RCT, all that is absurd. And at least Gojo Satoru was absurd. And all these people are absurd. But they're also kind of stupid for having so much optimism. And we see even Hikari accept the backhand compliment. He's like, oh, thanks. Kotsu's even more so. Which is funny. I do like how Hikari does give his respect to Yuta. He's like, you think my technique is nuts. You should see the guy who can do my technique and everybody else's. But Urume drops the bombshell. The thing that had the whole community up in a tizzy. Lord Sukuna is capricious. His cursed energy wavers like this when he isn't interested in his opponents. You should be ashamed of yourselves for not presenting a better fight than Satoru Gojo. Even considering the effects of the early fighting, I can still see Lord Sukuna isn't taking this fight seriously. And then we see Sukuna, seemingly enough, locking in. All four eyes ablaze, coated in that thick, deep, malevolent darkness. And it's gonna get tragic. Specifically for Maki. And she's the only one who's fighting right now. Do I think Maki's cooked? Hope not. Hope not. She may be though. So like, we're in danger. But that's the big slobberknocker. The big slamma jamma, if you will, that Sukuna's been holding back. Now, I'm fine with it. At first, I was a little bit, but then I just leaned back and thought about it. Yeah, it makes sense. He felt fear. To continue my comparison I was about to make earlier, I felt fear at age 8 when I saw a insect the size of, I don't know, let's say this pencil. Like I saw a big stick bug. I was scared. Did the stick bug actually pose a threat to me? No. It just surprised me and worried me. And heck, if we're being accurate, Sukuna is a large mammal against a bunch of black widows. Or just basically a human against a bunch of black widows. There are lethal things that everyone, well not everyone, but a lot of people in the cast can do to him. Like, that soul split's still dangerous. If Sukuna had, well, to quote Josh, if Maki had gone for the head, then Sukuna would be done. If Gojo had gone for the head, when he had hit Sukuna with that black flash and had buried his fist in Megumi's face off an explosive blue-black flash, yeah, Sukuna likely be dead. If Yuta had not stopped Jacob's ladder, maximum output, and just left that bad boy cooking on high, Sukuna would have been dead. Just like we as humans are susceptible to poisons. Like, what is it? What's that like, Amazon frog that can, like, kill 10 elephants? Like a whole herd of elephants with its poison? Yeah, that's what the cast is right now. They're a bunch of little frogs that are fully capable of slaughtering elephants with their level of toxicity. But still, while that may have caused Sukuna a little bit of fear, doesn't mean he was scared. Doesn't mean he was going all out. If it put me in a 1v1 against, like, I don't know, a tiny mammal with rabies, and heck, as long as they play my cards right, I ain't scared, but I am scared. Because I don't want to get bit, I don't want to get rabies. But, like, still, I can see the reason why Sukuna's been holding back. Because he's always been smiling. He only felt fear for 5 seconds in 2:35. Right towards the end of it. For the rest of the battle, he was grinning, cheesing. Even Gojo himself notes, and Sukuna's fighting weird. He shouldn't be fighting like this. I should be fighting weird. Because I'm trying to save Megumi, but I don't think he should be fighting weird. Sukuna's been fighting weird. He's been holding back. Once again, outside of the Gojo thing, which I can understand people still having an issue with, even with my whole comparison of, like, us as humans being scared of tiny animals with dangerous toxins and or diseases. The rest of the cast, it makes sense he's holding back. No one was Gojo level. Like this is confirmed. No one was Gojo level. And of course, if Gojo couldn't beat him, of course no one else could. So of course, even though Sukuna seems a little bit off, a little bit down, even if he's down to half his cursed energy, yeah, of course he's fine. So, I think this is causing people annoyance. This final panel is causing people annoyance because they just don't like it. But I can't say the narrative has necessarily done anything to explicitly contradict this, nor not make it make sense. The only thing I will admit, though, this makes the problem of, oh no, the antagonist is too strong to beat. And we're running out of characters who could beat the antagonist. And by running out, I mean we literally have. Unless Gojo comes back with an Awakening's Awakening. Unless Yuta comes back with an Awakening's Awakening. Unless Yuji awakens and hits a billion black flashes. Unless Maki suddenly leaps up and is able to tag a series. Like, unless characters now get explicitly, stupidly, insanely strong for no reason, we can't beat Sukuna. Which is an issue. Because, you know, we need to beat Sukuna. Like, that's the only issue with this statement. Does it cause any problems on Sukuna's end and how he's been portrayed throughout the narrative so far? No. It just causes issues if we actually expect to win. If we think JJK is having a dark ending, there's extra no issue. But since I don't think it is, because it's still a Shonen Jump manga, we're in a lot of trouble on a writing integrity front. And that's my only worry. However, all that aside, if you somehow made it to the end of this chunk of a video, I've been yapping for a minute. I think this is my longest video. That's crazy. Over a chapter review? What was I yapping about? But this is probably my longest video. If you made it all the way to the end of this somehow, I can't wait to see the analytics on this video. Please leave the World King's Wrath. World King Wrath. World King's Wrath. Yeah, one of those two. One of those two. World King's Wrath or World King Wrath. One of those two in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon below where you can support me for as low as $1 month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the 23-minute live reaction to this 23-minute, wow. 23-minute live reaction to this very chapter, ad-free variations of all my videos, and if you go $25 patron or $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Connor Plays, Greyhound, Kids Void, Astro, Red Wolf 4765, and Eternal Flame. I'd like to give another thank you to our $5 patrons, Victor, Steron, Sean, RNG Master, Midnight Lord 21, Metal Solid Crisis, Kevin, Igneel, and EHack1. And I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our $7 members, Autumn Mornings Lazo and Jan Tomaz. And I'd like to give another juicy old thank you to our $10 member, Jay Warrior. I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our two $10 patrons, Joaquin and Idemokami. And I'd like to give another sloppy thank you to our, I shouldn't have said sloppy, thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. And I'd like to give a juicy gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Winter. Another fantastic next level thank you to our $25 patron, China Doll 09, and a final gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.